Hello everyone, welcome to Zoom in China Chat. I'm Simone Gao. House Democrats are blocking the Senate passed bill of the Confucius Act that would stop funds from the $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill from going to universities that host the Confucius Institute. What happened to the consensus the U.S. political circle has reached on stopping Chinese efforts in limiting free speech and spreading propaganda through the Confucius Institute? Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Alexander Milley, is in hot water because of his phone call to the top Chinese general without letting President Trump know. What will happen to Milley? Will the Biden administration hold the line on China? I discussed these questions and more with Shawn Steel, Republican National Committeeman in California. Take a listen. Thank you, Shawn, for joining Zoom in China today.
This is one of my favorite subjects. It's in the newspapers every day.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's talk about the Confucius Act that just passed the Senate. I think actually on March 4th, it passed the Senate unanimously. However, after the bill reached the House, it was blocked by some Democratic congressmen. So I was wondering why that happened, because I thought the U.S. political circle has already reached a consensus on the Confucius Institute.
Actually, they have. Most people of goodwill, liberals, conservatives, moderates, I think we know who funds the Confucius Institute. We know it's an agency for the Chinese Communist Party. We know it's insidious. It doesn't have any real interest in having genuine history or cultural enlightenment. It's basically a spy operation, propaganda organization for the Chinese Communist Party. But progressives have a problem with countries that are totalitarian, that have fantastic social controls, have surveillance systems. So the progressives are strangely attracted to rogues all over the world, including the people that run the Chinese Communist Party. And what their reasoning is almost baffling. But the fact is, the Progressive Caucus in the Democrat Party, particularly in the House, are fundamentally anti-American. They just don't like this country. They don't like the people in this country. They don't like the history of our country. And they see that perhaps an alliance with the Chinese Communist Party and other rogue states might be somehow beneficial to their interests, because they really do seek a revolutionary overturn in our American society. So that's the fundamental reason. They don't have a good reason. If you put them on the spot, they're going to say, well, the language wasn't quite right. Well, maybe the timing's not good. Well, maybe Biden would be unhappy. But whatever the excuse is, there shouldn't be any argument that the Confucius Institute is something that doesn't belong in university or high school campuses. And at one point, they were all over the country. And now there's pushback. People are aware of what they're designed for, who's paying for it. They're basically foreign lobbyists that are unregistered.
Right. That's what I don't quite understand. The political wind has changed on this subject. If they oppose, funding the Confucius Institute, that would not be popular with our voters. Isn't that true?
Well, for the vast majority. They're trying. I think some of the progressives are saying, well, this is an anti-Asian bill. Nonsense. They know that's transparently not true. The people that are promoting this are mostly Asian Americans, people that, especially those from mainland China that have left mainland China for a reason to get out because it's a totalitarian society. They support abolishing the Confucius Institute, and because they understand the insidious nature of this kind of propaganda. And basically, it's also, Confucius Institute is also used to keep track and to monitor and intimidate former citizens of communist China. They're here, people here in America are here for a reason. They enjoy the liberties that we have, and where the government's not all powerful all the time. And yet then they discovered a couple of miles away at a big university, there's a Confucius Institute that actually knows where they live. Once in a while they get visited. Once in a while they'll get phone calls. They basically are being watched and spied upon, particularly those with recently from communist China. They're being spied upon by the Confucius Institute. it's a vast network of spies. It's something that really we don't need and we shouldn't have in our country.
Yeah, that's just crazy. Do you think this bill will pass? I mean, nevertheless.
I think it will, but maybe not this session. Uh, we'll have to in the elections of 2022. There should be a major repudiation against Joe Biden. He probably had the worst 8 months of any American president in the last 100 years, maybe 150 years. I mean, it's been a terrible 6, 8 months for Biden. I mean, you could take we could look at other presidents like Carter of Georgia, who was president for 4 short years, and he had a terrible 4 years. And Americans replaced him with Ronald Reagan. So, but for Joe Biden to deteriorate so badly, and there's a chance to remedy that. Our Constitution provides for a change in the House of Representatives every 2 years. Historically, the party in power loses 40 seats. They probably lose a lot more than that. So once we have a Republican majority, and as you know, Congresswoman Michelle Steel sits on the China Commission, that's going to have a great deal of influence, and it'll be much more center right than center left as it is today.
Right, right. Let's talk about you just talked about Joe Biden. Let's talk about 2024 and Trump. So when he was asked about whether he would run again in 2024, he said, I don't think we're going to have a choice. I think you will be happy. What do you make of it?
Well, I think he's always interested, and he's not hiding his interest, but he puts it in such a way that he can go either way. He can change his mind at the last minute. And so he likes stirring the pot, keeping the interest, keeping the attention on him. He likes that kind of incoming publicity. And there's nothing wrong with it. Every politician does. So sure, he likes to be asked constantly. It helps the Democrats in a way because it brings up, oh my God, Trump could get back. And so they raise a lot of money off those comments. I see it all the time. I see the fundraising letters that go out. So the Democrats like to keep holding up Trump and scare their base. On the other hand, Trump gets a lot of our base excited. So he likes getting that kind of attention. And so you're going to keep hearing him say that. He's going to hedge. I think right after the 2022 election, that he'll then have to be much more clear. After we have the elections next year, you're going to hear right after those midterm elections if he's serious or not. And there's some other issues too. He's the exact same age. Do I have this right? No, he's 4 years younger than Joe Biden. But if he's physically fit, if he's sharp, if he makes good, clear comments, if he can campaign hard like he did last year, like he did in 2016, he'll be formidable. He'll be a major force of nature.
It's interesting. So you didn't interpret Trump's answer as a definitely yes.
No, because he didn't say definitely yes. He's very good on this, and then when he makes these comments, and then he'll say you're going to hear a definite answer next Tuesday. So everybody's sitting in their seats next Tuesday, and next Tuesday it's not really more clear. He says, well, then wait till next Saturday, and so he keeps the suspense good. So he's an expert on television. He understands how to get the message across and keep people excited, keep people tuned in. That's one of his great talents. He is a great communicator.
Interesting. So if Trump run in 2024, how do you compare his chances to that of 2020?
It's hard to say. Biden is falling much faster than anybody anticipated. He may have some real serious problems that we don't even know about. Clearly, he's been covered and surrounded by his wife and the chief of staff, and sometimes we scratch our heads. Who's really running the show? Who's making the decisions? Most people that I know don't think Biden's making his own decisions. He's got a team of people or a couple of aides or somebody who's kind of helping him walk through the motions. So it's hard to tell. You heard him in a press conference just this morning. And, it was sad. He's coughing and sneezing and just stuff that you wouldn't find from a president normally. He's not healthy. He's not a healthy person. in a way, it's too bad, but he's our president. We expect the best and the brightest.
If Biden is not in a good shape, why did you not say Trump is going to be in a better position than 2020?
No, I mean Trump could be in a better position. Again, remember, age is a factor in everything in life, including politics. And so, when you have when you have a candidate like Obama, he was fresh and vital and exciting and charismatic, and nobody ever doubted his cognitive abilities. George Bush, when he was running for president, exciting, dashing figure from Texas and governor and had a nice big vision. Nobody ever thought twice, about his abilities. Everybody thinks a lot about Joe Biden.
Yeah. Okay. So if Trump runs in 2024, I should ask, what's the Republican leadership's position about this? Would they rather have someone else run for 2024?
The beautiful thing about a political party, it's not one guy, not one woman, not one faction. It is a huge umbrella organization involving tens and tens of millions of people, And so I can't speak for tens of millions of people. I represent 5 million registered Republicans in California. I represent them. But I certainly don't speak for all of them. But my job is to stay close to that. But there's 50 states and 6 territories that Republicans are active and have people elected to office. So so when you say Republican leaders, there's all kinds of Republican leaders. Sometimes they don't like each other. Sometimes they fight amongst themselves. My best guess is that Trump's, in order to get renominated in 2024, he's going to have to win the primaries. And if he goes in and does what he did in 2016, just throttles everybody aside, if he's running for president, he has, let's just say, just 30% support, he'll become the nominee. I was surprised to see that, because in 2016 he always had 30%. The first day he announced 30%, and then the last primary 30%. So he has that core group that will drive through and beat a whole bunch of other people. Now, if it's one other candidate like Governor DeSantis, who everybody likes in Florida, well, then the odds might be different. But if there's 15 people running against Trump, Trump will kill all of them one at a time. So those are some of the dynamics. And who knows what we'll be thinking, what will be going on, what kind of situation there'll be economically in America, what new viruses the communist Chinese spring on the world.
Yeah, President Biden ordered 90-day reports to trace the origin of the virus, did not give a conclusive answer to where the virus actually came from. I mean, the Biden administration, I think on the surface, you see it go after the CCP pretty fiercely, but, in the result, you don't see much. I mean, what's your impression? Do you think they're tough enough?
I'm going to disagree. I don't think they go after them fiercely at all. I think they don't talk much about communist China. They don't talk. They don't have any kind of a vision or understanding. With Trump, it was really clear, and this is Trump's best work might have been foreign policy or federal judges. There's so many areas he did extraordinarily well, better than even Reagan in some cases. So Trump, by making the policy very clear with the Chinese, by actually doing things with the tariffs, really did change the Chinese attitude. But more importantly, he educated Americans and other people in the world, and that legacy is going forward. He's emboldened a lot of people to stand against the Chinese Communist Party. I like to see the Philippines are finally shifting their focus and not being so nice to the Chinese Communist Party. And so Biden, it doesn't show that resolution. He has been weak from day one. Remember, it was Obama's Secretary of Defense, not too recent ago, not too long ago. Gates, Secretary of Defense Gates, said that Obama had the ability to make bad, incompetent political world decisions for 30 years in a row. That in every major world event, he was wrong. Biden was wrong. That Secretary of Defense, who one of the top positions that Obama appointed to, saying that about Joe Biden. Joe Biden keeps proving bad decisions, bad instincts, and then bad advisors. I mean, this General Milley that he's got is the worst chief of staff in American history. I can't think of any general that has been as bad and an insidious subterfuge, violating military organization ethics as General Milley, and Biden standing behind him. The guy's become a laughingstock and an embarrassment for American service people.
I want to get your opinion on the 2022 midterms. I just read a piece on CNN, and it talked about, actually several Republican senators are pondering whether they're going to run again or retire. What do you think will happen to the midterms?
So we have some good opportunities. Yeah. And by the way, we have to elect more Republicans than Democrats, because it turns out there's a lot more Republicans running for re-election than Democrats. There's 5 or 6 really crucial seats. We should win the Georgia seat back. I think we've got some outstanding candidates. Herschel Walker's, impressing a lot of folks, an African American. That'd be the second black senator from the South. That's Republican, and Democrats don't have that. I think we've got some other good opportunities that we can pick up, but also not just looking at state by state by state. If Biden's administration is collapsing before our very eyes, I don't know if it can be worse than Kabul. It's going to help all Republicans on every level of government.
So you think in 2022, Republicans can reclaim both House and Senate?
Yes, I do. And also a lot of governorships. And the reason is the Biden administration is deteriorating. It's getting worse by the month, not by the year, by the month. There's always some bad news. Look, in the last 48 hours, what's the bad news? With General Milley, who's in charge of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, was talking to communist Chinese military leaders, undermining Trump. We went through this with MacArthur and Harry S. Truman. You can't have a military guy making policy. It's illegal. It's unconstitutional. It's treasonable, and it should be court-martialed. And that just came out in the last 48 hours. That just came out of nowhere. This is the same guy that thinks that the biggest problem that America faces, number one security threat, is white rage. Is this man insane? This is a Joint Chiefs of Staff of our military, like white rage? No, it's his. He's such a political suck-up, and he's going to be considered one of the worst military generals in all of American history. He's a disgrace, and he's still there. Biden keeps supporting him.
Yeah.
We have a Secretary of Defense who's arguably very dumb and not very sharp at all, and he's responsible for the collapse of Kabul. So we have bad players that's making Biden look worse, and that's not changing.
I would also like to get your opinion on the California recall election. The latest number I checked is 74% of the reported votes. 64% of Californians said no to remove Governor Newsom. 36% said yes. Does this number surprise you?
No. There's twice as many registered Democrats in California. The other side, Newsom he didn't have any campaign limits because it's a recall election, so the rules are different. So he had $80 million. George Soros kicked in $1 million, which even surprised me. The Democrat Governors Association put millions and millions, and they were so desperately. Basically, the Democrats got a shiner. They got a big black eye. I mean, Newsom is half the man that he was for the election, because he was. Who gets recalled? That's a very difficult process. We've got 2 million people signing the initiatives, and the Democrats fought it all the way. They changed the election. They instead of the election being in November, they pushed it to September. And then they demonized Larry Elder, an African American. How dare an African American be a libertarian conservative and run against Newsom? So they made up stuff and they attacked him. They had $80 million. I would tell you right now, $80 million Mother Teresa couldn't win. Seriously, in the age of big news and propaganda, which was overwhelming. But I didn't go in with expectations that we were suddenly going to seize power. But what we did do is organize several million people that are better educated, know how to knock on doors. We know where we're strong in certain neighborhoods. There's certain congressmen in a lot of trouble because their neighborhoods went against Newsom. Plus, 25% of the votes haven't been counted. The numbers are going to show that it's not as wide as it is today. It's going to be narrower. More counties are going to start showing that they went against Newsom. So, but we won't find that out for 1 or 2 weeks because, these registered voters take forever to count. They work for the government. So, the recall was a good energizer for us. Larry Elder was spectacular. He'll be one of the most famous Republicans in the country. He's in high demand. His radio show of 300 stations is probably going to grow to 600 radio. So you're going to see a lot of Larry Elder. He's one of the most common sense Republicans we've had in a generation.
Interesting. Does the results of the recall tell you anything about what's going to happen in 2022?
Well, California is the bluest of the blue state. Who would have guessed 6 months ago there would even be a recall? That in itself is historic. That we're willing to take a look. We were the David, Newsom's the Goliath, and we missed. We didn't knock them out with a stone. Well, that's fine. There'll be other opportunities. I don't for one election. I don't give up. To me, it's just a process, and the money came in so big. Remember, we weren't even. This is not small donations. Most of the contributions came in at $1 million or more. We're talking about big tech, big labor, and big labor and big tech together is a formidable force. It's not like middle class folks. It's not like regular donors. These groups came in and they wanted to keep control. Progressives and left-wing Democrats. Their basic thing is control. They make people wear masks because maybe it doesn't scientifically make sense, but it shows that they're in charge and they can tell you what to do.
Right. I mean, I'm curious, what do you think will happen to General Milley?
Milley is going to have to resign. There's going to be too many questions. He is whatever, he got through the politically correct stuff and the critical race theories that he's imposing on the military. And then it was Kabul that he's, buck stops on the military side. That was a terrible, terrible withdrawal. And still we got Americans that are held hostage. We'll hear about this for years. It'll be years of get all the Americans out of there. It's going to be a story continuous. Now we find out that he was playing deep politics in front of 15 other people. It's well recorded. He hasn't denied it. He's done. He is a dead man walking. He doesn't have any future or credibility. Nobody in Congress trusts him. Even Democrats. Tammy Duckworth, a far Democrat liberal in Chicago, and she's an American war veteran. A lot of people don't know that she was a helicopter pilot in Iraq, and she lost both of her legs. She's paraplegic. She's a U.S. senator, and she said Miley's in a lot of trouble. I think she even implied that he has to go. So now you got the Democrats that are agreeing with the Republicans. It means Joe Biden's doing something good. He's uniting the country against this politics.
Yeah, but President Biden backed General Milley, and Milley's office said they had kept the Department of Defense and interagency in loop when Milley made those calls. Will this get Milley off the hook?
Well, look, everything is going to stop for Milley. People are not going to trust him. International leaders won't talk to him as frequently. His publicity that he's getting is going deep into the ranks. He is really a negative force among young officers, cadets in West Point, Annapolis. They can't respect him. He's unrespectable. He's a man that has lost his poise and his dignity. He's a man that has no dignity, made very bad, stupid political decisions. The political generals that Obama kind of created, nurtured, and advanced, he's one of those political generals. We don't need political generals. We need general generals. We need military generals. So Milley's turned out to be the worst of the worst. He's an embarrassment to America. He won't last long.
All right, Shawn, thank you so much for the interview. Really appreciate it.
I love it. You're a great one, and you've done so well, and you get so many views. Everybody's jealous. They should be. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shawn.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye. That's all for today. Thanks for watching Zooming in China. Please like, share, subscribe, and donate to this channel if you like our production. Also, head over to my new membership website at zoomingin.tv. You can get video audio formats of my shows, full transcripts, and in-depth reports only available to members. I will also do Q&A with members on the website, just $5 a month or $50 a year. Please check it out. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.